The people who were hopeful, happy, who had people around them giving them love, they recovered often when medically we thought they wouldn't. And then there were people who had minor illnesses that passed away or just, struggled to recover, who had higher levels of pain than we would typically see for that illness. And I realized all of it was related to that emotional well-being.
What I love about you, Dr. Goldner, of course, I mean, your work with, autoimmune disease, I'm putting that aside. It's that you're one of the doctors that really talks about the other components, about, the mental, the spiritual, whatever you want to call it. A lot of doctors just take the medicine, take the protocol, and you give those, but you talk about the mindset. And I think that's where a lot of people have trouble.
I'm kind of built for it. It's one of those things where I lean on everything I've ever learned and experienced in order to help people, right? So I have the original background of being a sick kid with lupus, right? So I know what it's like to be a patient. I know what it's like to be on horrific amounts of medicines to survive. So I understand that pain. And a lot of times doctors don't, right? They went to school, they're smart, but they don't really know the life of a patient. And also one of the things that I did have to learn being sick so young is that we have a choice between how we spend our lives and whether or not how we look at ourselves, how we treat ourselves emotionally, whether we're hopeful or whether we're depressed. Like, everything has to do with perspective. And so when I was able to not only get, chemotherapy for 2 years and be on 7 meds a day, dealing with kidney failure and, the arthritis and all those different things, and also still continue to get my straight A's, still continue, to get my scholarship to college, all that stuff, took a tremendous amount of focus, hope, belief in myself, and a willingness to treat my illness as an obstacle rather than an identity. And so when it came to the point, I never thought I actually would, find a way to heal lupus. That wasn't, I did for a minute. I did genetic research for a couple of years, 3 years. Turns out I don't like doing research. It's very lonely. You're just in the lab with the DNA, and results are slow, and I'm a very social person. But after I gave up the genetic research, I was originally an MD PhD student, actually. And then I just decided I want to focus on the clinical, because I thought that my powers would be best used in helping people, not only with my ability to diagnose and treat through medical intervention, but to help patients hold on to hope and still live lives that had purpose and passion in spite of being sick. And I knew how to do that, personally knew how to do that. So that's what led me into specializing in trauma, psychiatry and neurology, but specifically on helping people through severe emotional traumas and depression and grief and anxiety, so that I could help them find a way to live good lives. Because what I found through my hospital training, even as a medical student, was that the people who were hopeful, happy, who had people around them giving them love, they recovered often when medically we thought they wouldn't. And then there were people who had minor illnesses that passed away or just, struggled to recover, who had higher levels of pain than we would typically see for that illness. And I realized all of it was related to that emotional well-being. So that's why I chose that path. Then I end up healing from the lupus because of nutrition. And then when I go to teach the world, I'm like, here, have my protocol for free. I find the reason people don't do the protocol is because of their depression, their anxiety. So yeah, everything I've ever been through, recovered from, was resilient to, trained in, I give all of that with all my heart to people every day. And that's been, that's why I teach it, because I know that nutrition is not just about knowledge. There's plenty of knowledge out there already where people could at least do better, right? But it's all here. I just did a session with somebody this morning in the UK who's a therapist, right? But she's not eating on plan. And I asked her why, and she took the time to really tell me the answers. She doesn't feel worthy. She's afraid she has to earn love and all these different kinds of things. I mean, I figured out, I named it. She told me the feelings and I named it. But once we know the reason, and we can get rid of the excuses, we can get rid of the self-sabotage, then suddenly you realize how easy the food is, right? Like, oh, so now I can just eat this, right? But all of this gets in the way of the fork in the mouth. It's all in the mind. And so, yeah, I teach people happiness and hopefulness and gratitude. And once they feel that way, food can just be a tool. But if you're depressed, you're anxious, you're bereft, you're insecure, all of those things, suddenly it's got so much more riding on it and it becomes so much more of a struggle.